Everyone has different strengths, and did that ever cause problems? And how do they each contribute now? My best advice for working with co-founders, I would say the number one thing is work with people you trust. You need to know who you're getting into business with enough to trust them with everything, because there's financials involved, there's a big portion of your life that you're pouring into this. You want to be able to know that your co-founders are honest, they'll do what they say they're going to do, and that they will communicate well, and that you could trust them to do anything, and you can also trust them to know where their limits are, which I think is important to know, that if there's something you can't do or you can't do well or you can't commit to, that you say so. And if there's something that needs to be said no to, you say no. I think that's really important. So with the three of us, you're right, whoever asked the question, everyone has different strengths. We have sort of an interesting mix of strengths at Contently. So my co-founder Joe, he also grew up in Idaho. We were friends in middle school, and we were in the math and computer club together, which was totally not cool then, but it's very cool now, I suppose, as startup nerds. So we were in the math club together. We knew each other for a long time. We hung out in the same circle of friends. He married a good friend of mine, and we kept in touch for years after school, and we went our separate ways. So I knew Joe through good and bad, and I completely trusted him and his business acumen. Dave was the third co-founder, so I met him actually in a Hacker News thread that was basically asking who's working on an interesting side project and looking for a collaborator. And I posted a side project I was working on, and Dave replied, and we became friends over the internet. And it was about a year, maybe a year and a half later, that we actually finally met in person. So we actually worked together on sort of low-risk projects for a long period of time before we even met up, and far before we started Contently together. And so I feel like that try before you buy experience really helped us to know that we could work well together, we could communicate well, and that we could trust each other. And I saw that he did good work, he saw that I did good work. Has having different strengths or different personalities ever caused problems? I would say yes and no. It causes debates, and it causes arguments and disagreements. I think if everyone of the co-founders are mature and they trust each other and they respect each other, those debates actually further the business more than if you have complete sort of concurrence on every issue. So if I were running this business myself, I guess I should step back. Once in a while, something will happen. There will be a disagreement on some issue, big or small, with your business, especially after you've been running it for a while. And once in a while, I'll go home and I'll think about it, and I'll say, man, it would be really nice if I were the boss and it was only me. And I was the CEO, dictator, and I could just say, we're going to do this. This is my decision, because I know it's the right decision. There's been times when I've thought that, and sometimes maybe I'm right, and we debate about it some more, and it ends up that the thing that I proposed was the right way to go. But 2 out of 3 times I'm wrong, and because we have these vigorous debates where we are very passionate about making the business successful, and we're able to sort of put aside our own personal ego a little bit, which is hard, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But through those debates and those differences, we've been able to build a much bigger business than I would have been able to build on my own, or that Dave would have, or that Joe would have. And that's the reason why this business in particular is a much bigger idea and a much bigger opportunity than any of us had worked on before, because we'd all been entrepreneurs as individuals. So how do they each contribute now? So Dave, before going to law school, he's a computer science guy, so he's the CTO. So he manages, he started out building everything, but he now manages the team of developers and makes all the technology decisions, and he's very involved in hiring for the product team. He's also, because he has a law background, he's the guy who reads all the paperwork we ever sign. He keeps our lawyers honest. So that's Dave. Joe, how he contributes, he started out as the business guy, but he also knew how to code. And so he had actually worked on the very, very first prototype of the software. And then we threw his code out, and Dave redid it. But Joe is very much the sort of the process guy, the operations, finance, and fundraising. So he's the guy doing the spreadsheets. He's the guy managing the billing, making sure our customers pay us. And then my role has sort of been always a little bit amorphous. I was the design guy in the beginning. I designed the actual site and built the front end HTML. But because of my background in journalism, I've sort of become the unofficial spokesperson for the cause. And I think having that sort of evangelist role in our company has been very valuable. But of course, each of us contribute in a lot of different ways as well. There's always new stuff that comes up that someone's got to do, and you kind of gotta just do it if you're around. So our office had a flood, and Joe and I came in on a Sunday and we mopped the floor. You know, the next week, you know, if someone is having a hard time and is, you know, worried about, you know, their sort of mental, emotional health with the job they're doing, you know, Dave will sit down and counsel them whether or not they're on the dev team. And so there's a lot of things that you end up doing. And I think that, again, trust and maturity is very key.